This video is from when Mike, Eason, and I took a trip up in the Mojave Desert in the Dove Springs off-highway vehicle area. You can see from the campground here where the Easons had camped on Friday night. There's Mike. I drove up Saturday with the bike on the carrier on the back of the Tahoe. And Mike and I took about a 75-mile loop through all kinds of different terrain here. Saw a couple hikers here. This is in the Red Rock Canyon State Park. Really beautiful rock formations. Some neat rock riding and sand washes. This area is starting to get closed down. It's not as accessible as it used to be, but we got to ride through here a little bit. This is just off Highway 14 north of Mojave, California. So it's pretty accessible. My goal today was to learn a few technical riding improvements by following Mike, watching his line selection. I wanted to do some hill climbs, which came later in the ride, but this was helpful just to watch what he was doing, work on weight balance. Lots of different terrain here. This is kind of cool. This is an area where the petroglyphs are, and then some really neat rock formations exist. You can hike back in here. And this is also an area where the old wagon trains from Death Valley and the 20 mule trains used to come through and make a stop for water. I've read about some of the history of this place. It's pretty cool. And we ended up going in and then coming back out as we couldn't make a loop. You see here in the sand wash, this just takes a little more speed. I stalled the bike here. It was in second gear, should have been in first there, had more speed.
Were you in first?
Just part of my education and getting ready and anticipating some of these features to get a little bit smoother in my getting ready for those hill climbs. So we came out of the Red Rock Canyon area and made our way back to the east, and we ended up seeing these hikers, same two again. I think we scared them. They couldn't hear us, which was surprising because of the wind direction. Then we came back over the ridge and then made our way east into the El Paso mountain range. This is just beautiful. There's a ton of mines up here. You can see all these cones of cinders up here. A lot of that's from old mining operations for gold, silver, borax, talc, all kinds of minerals up in here. And I think you could explore these old mines for days up in this area. So we made our way up to the higher elevations, up through some canyons, one called Last Chance Canyon, and then one called Mesquite Canyon. So we're making our way up to the top of this ridge, and then we would end up going over to an old cabin. Look at this ridge, it's incredible.
Hell yeah!
A fun hill climb. Probably 100-mile visibility today. It's just fantastic. So we're looking over the Mojave Desert out to the south towards Mojave. Back south there will be like Los Angeles, about 100 miles to the south. This is about 2 hours north of my house, so it's pretty accessible. We go back down and wanted to go to an old cabin called the Walsh Cabin. It's an old part of a network that was called Adopt a Cabin. Which is kind of neat. We'll see that coming up in just a little bit. We're just making a loop here across the El Paso Mountains. Is a 4x4. And then we go up in a canyon road and see me bouncing around this rock garden. This takes some speed, momentum, and if you go slow on this, you end up having trouble. It was quite a gnarly
That was not easy. That was good.
hill climb there. So this is the cabin, Walsh Cabin, a view from inside with the Bible by the window. It's an old place where hikers used to sleep overnight. I don't think I want to sleep in there now with all the rats that were obviously around. We came down looking to go across that valley, and we ended up to this signpost. They had closed this trail. We're trying to get down to that trail in the distance. And instead of bushwhacking it, we decided to go back up. The camera sort of doesn't show how steep this is, but it was another test in rocky terrain. Just hammer down and climb. Back up to the cabin, then back down the way we came. So this is a pretty steep downhill on that rock patch. Just Got to get back, let momentum roll over this stuff, and get your balance good. So this is the trail we could see from the top of that mountain. And then we're back in the Mojave Valley by the railroad, and we can run along the railroad. It's pretty whooped out, so we rode in the middle of this road. It's a little bit smoother. A lot of deep sand washes in here, so it's good practice to keep balance. I dumped it once in coming over a ridge, didn't have enough throttle, and about a foot deep sand at too slow a speed, so just good training. And then we went over to Jawbone and had a snack, and then came up the Jawbone Canyon Trail. Mike spotted this old mine. You can see it up in the upper right there. These mines are all over the place. And we just checked that out and made our way back up the fire road here. We came up part way. You can see the flood control stuff down in the valley there, up to the ridge, and then we got a little bit more off-road and ended up on the really cool ridge trail up above Jawbone Canyon. We'd been up here a couple times before on a couple other bike rides. So some of this I had been on before, and I remember this corner actually did much better this time with much more momentum, and getting better with that technique. Just getting better with every ride. A lot of rocks this part of the year, this time of the year. Beautiful scenery off in the distance. Pretty steep downhills here, and I did have trouble getting up one hill and got off to the side, just a little cross path off in the weeds here. But this is probably my favorite ridge. Been up here a couple times. Let's see why with this view. See all the different colored minerals, so it's this combination of hard pack and sand and rock. There's pretty good traction up here, so fairly easy to ride, but it's a little bit exposed on some of these fairly skinny sections, and it's coming up here a little bit. So these are pretty steep little gullies to go in. This is good practice. Get momentum down the hill and power up. Make sure you've got your gear selected. Make sure you're in gear, and keep that body upright for balance. This is pretty exposed here. I did dump the bike in the rocks coming up the hill before the ranch. I came around a corner in the sun and was going too slow and hit a huge rock and just fell off to the side. So a good reminder is that momentum is your friend. So we'll come down here to the Jawbone Canyon on this ridge. And then off in the distance is where that hill there to the left. Now this hill, was trying to do some hill climbs, and I did not make it up on 2 tries. So this is in third gear, had some speed but not enough, and had dumped it right there on the left at the first try, and was having trouble just getting enough entrance speed, and then the hill is almost make it, and then the dump the front end over. So I got to keep working on that. I was tired late in the day. I come down, this is steep enough you're basically dragging the back wheel. So after a couple tries, decided to come back another day for that one. We had another spot up here as we head back up the Jawbone area across to Dove Springs camping. It's kind of a fun section. I dumped it right here. I locked the front wheel up, and it doesn't take much, and didn't have the presence of mind to let that brake go and get back and just ride it out. So I was getting tired.
I came over the hill.
So all good. Those are all slow speed dumps. Nobody gets hurt, soft sand, and then made our way back up to the Dove Springs camping site. So a really fun day, 75 miles. And thanks to Mike for another epic Mike Eason dirt bike ride.